Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today to our discussion. My name is Ailsa Kogaricha, and I'm a first-year student here at Brown and one of the co-moderators for today.
And my name is Lemmy Greaves. I'm also a first-year student at Brown, co-moderating today's event. We're so excited to introduce our speaker, Deborah Ayorinde. Deborah Ayorinde is an actor starring in Amazon's anthology horror series, executive produced by Lena Waithe and Little Marvin Them, and Amazon's Riches, a drama series that follows the exploits of the stylish, privileged, super successful Richards family. Ayorinde also appeared alongside Octavia Spencer and Kate Hudson on the second season of Apple TV's Plus, Truth Be Told, the NAACP Image Award-winning Apple original drama series that provides a glimpse into America's obsession with true crime podcasts.
Ayorinde played opposite Cynthia Erivo in the critically acclaimed feature film Harriet and guest starred in the acclaimed Netflix series Luke Cage. She played Mahershala Ali's daughter in the latest installment of True Detective for HBO, and starred in the massively successful Universal feature Girls Trip. Ayorinde appeared in Sony and Netflix's Fatherhood opposite Kevin Hart. As a student at Howard University, she won the coveted Paul Robeson Best Actress Award for her performance in a short film that she both wrote and directed. Ayorinde splits her time between Los Angeles and London, where she was born. Welcome, Deborah.
Hi, so I hear you guys say all that. I'm like, I did that? Oh, yeah. Hi.
Hi. So we're now going to head into our questions for Deborah, and we also invite anyone in the audience to submit their own questions using the Q&A box below, as we will have time for an audience Q&A towards the end of the talk.
Okay, so our first question for you is, we know a lot of people in entertainment, their journeys start pretty early. So we were just wondering, did you want to be an actress growing up? And when did you know that you wanted to work in entertainment?
I can't say that I necessarily wanted to be an actress. I always knew I wanted to be a performing artist. Whatever kind of avenue that, took. For me, music has always been my first love. But I have an appreciation for all of the arts. And it wasn't until I went to Howard that I really started to dive into the film side, obviously because I got my degree in film production, that I really started to dive into the film side and just really start to see like the beauty of like telling stories and like, just, I don't know, just having something in your head and like bringing it to life, which I think is something that all artists do. But yeah, I didn't know until Howard that I wanted to actually like really, really go for acting. Like that was going to be the beginning of the nucleus of my career. But I always knew I wanted to be a performing artist.
Yeah. I feel like most people in entertainment can relate to that.
Yeah, especially when you're an artist, a lot of times you have a lot of different talents and you don't even know where to start. You're just so creative. You have all these ideas. You don't even know where to start. And for me, I didn't think that acting was going to be the place where I started, but I'm so glad that it has been. But yeah, I guess I hope that speaks to anyone who like was like me and just was like, I want to write a book. I want to write a song. I want to do this. I want to do that. You know what I mean? There's so much. But so many people have proven that you can really do it all. You just have to start somewhere,
Yeah, I'm currently in that phase of wanting to be an author / singer-songwriter / producer.
Plenty of multi hyphenates, like why can't it be you,
It absolutely can be. So moving into our next question for you. So you've starred in many television shows and movies that center people of color and Black people in particular. Would you say that there are, like multiple distinct sides to entertainment, like based on differences in race, like a Black Hollywood, like just generally the rest of Hollywood?
So Black Hollywood is a term that I feel like, though it was created with good intentions, I feel like it kind of puts us in a bit of a box, because we're telling stories about people who just happen to be Black. Do you get what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of times it gives people who exclude us more excuse to exclude us, to say, actually, this is supposed to be where you guys stay. This is supposed to be where we stay. And if we allow you into this space, it's like a performative, like diversity checkbox thing. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like for me, I think it's been a thing where it's just so happened that most of the work that I've done have been centered around people of color. And I take representing my people very, very seriously. I take representing Black people on screen, whether I'm in a cast of like mostly Black people or whether I'm the only one. I take representing us very, very seriously. But at the same time, I'm like, you know, I do sometimes have the burden of wondering in my head, okay, is this a diversity checkbox thing or is it like genuine inclusion? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't think that my, you know, white counterparts have to think about things like that, or like, you know, have to think about going into interviews constantly having to answer for racism and all that stuff like that. Was like, what, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure they don't have to as much. And so my hope for us is that we continue to tell our stories. We continue to do projects that might center around our stories and mostly around us. Like, I love seeing projects that have us at the center of the frame. But my hope is that more of us will be behind the scenes making the decisions, because that's where the true power is. And that also we can exist in spaces and we can just genuinely be included, you know, have a seat at the table and a voice at the table, that we can, you know, just kind of exist in these spaces and not have to explain ourselves, if that makes sense. So yeah, when I'm on sets with mostly Black people, I don't necessarily, I would say I don't necessarily have to explain myself as much, but I don't know if that's all the way true, because I'm Nigerian, because I'm from London, because I have, you know, so there's, I guess I sort of represent the fact that there's so many different sides to being Black. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like in those settings, sometimes I do still have to explain myself, but I just hope that we can get to a space where we can just exist, you know?
Yeah, because that's truly really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess leading off of that, how would you say has interacting with other Black actors and actresses in the industry influenced the way you've impersonated your roles?
So it influenced the way that I've been personally my roles. I don't know. You know, I get inspiration from my work from real people. I'm not saying that we're not real people. Not that we're like fake. I mean, you know, that we're like aliens, but I get my inspiration from like interacting with like people who are so far from what I do. You know what I mean? Because that like that's the way that you can portray a person most genuinely, when you like know someone. Like, I'll give an example, like Nina in Riches. There were so many of my girlfriends and my sister that I took inspiration from that. You know, I didn't really take that inspiration from other Black actresses or other Black actors, but I will say that especially when I'm on a set where there's not that many of us, it's like a breath of fresh air, to be honest with you, when one more of us just walks on set and I'm like, oh God, thank you. Because this is a bit of like a feeling of home, if you will, like, okay, like you get it, you know what I'm saying? Like I can feel safe with you. But obviously like people are people, there's good people and bad people, even within us, you know? But like, I will say that before anyone knew my name, like the first people who supported me were the Black people in and out of the industry. So there is a feeling of safety, I guess, when I interact with people who look like me on set, you know?
Yeah, I've certainly, you know, experienced that comfort of being around Black people, and I can see that like you've like sort of put yourself in those spaces like throughout your life. Like, would you say that your time at Howard, a, HBCU, historically Black college or university, like prepared you for your career in entertainment? And like what influences did attending an HBCU have over your decision to enter the industry?
Well, if anyone knows anything about Howard, like Howard is like, one word to describe would be peak. Like Howard is very like, you go there, first of all, you don't leave the same way you came, you know? Secondly, they really prepare you to be great at everything. Like to the point where like when you're in the experience, it's a bit much. When you come out of it, you're like, wait a minute, like I really appreciate, like, I'll give you an example. It's actually kind of weird, but whatever. So at Howard, you're so professional with everything. I don't care if you're like trying to join a fraternity and sorority, or if you are, trying to join the newspaper or whatever. You're super professional, you're super on it. There's where you introduce yourself, you learn the history of that, whatever you're trying to do, blah, blah, blah. I remember getting trying to get a summer job at BB. I don't know if BB's still a thing, it may have gone away now, but it's fine, it's a clothing store. And literally, I caught myself learning the history of BB before my interview. And I was like, what am I, why am I like, no one else was doing that. But like, I learned that Howard really taught me that you literally just have to just do a little bit more than everyone else, no matter what space you're in, be great. Don't just show up just to be mediocre. Like you didn't show up at Howard's campus to be mediocre. You came here to be great at whatever it is that you're doing. And so for me, I find that standard of excellence has influenced my career so much, like in learning my lines and making sure I know what I'm doing and coming to set prepared, coming to auditions prepared, like not having a plan B necessarily, but going full force for my plan A, my only plan really. Like those are the things I learned at Howard, yeah, so I could go on and on, but Howard is really just a breeding ground for greatness. And it really also taught me, that there's so many different sides to us as Black people. We're not one thing. When you step on that campus, you see Black people from everywhere. And that was the first time since I left London that I felt at home, and just felt like I could be my version of Black, but also it taught me that like, sky's not even the limit, you know what I mean? It's just a starting ground, to be honest. You can do anything. People here if you think about it, think about the Divine Nine, for example, the fraternities and sororities, like most of them are founded on Howard's campus. And if you really think about just a few years after slavery was abolished, they created these fraternities and sororities that would uplift, like, think about that level of what kind of mind you have to have in order to say, okay, I know that happened recently, but this is where I'm at right now. Like that is just, and it's that level still is alive and well on that campus, And so, yeah, I'm just proud of my experience. I could talk all day about how that's influenced me, to be honest, but yeah, those are things that come to mind.
No, that's so important. And that especially would resonate with Black people who want to move into, I guess, white dominated professions. Like a leg up on everyone else. And
because a lot of people say, that it doesn't really, going to an HBCU doesn't really prepare you for, for that. But actually, I don't think that's the case. At least that's not been my experience. For me, I feel like it taught me to have a level of pride. I don't know if you know any Howard alum, but we're annoyingly proud about being like, we're annoying, because that thing when you walk into that space, just being so proud of who you are, like you don't get that a lot in the world. You have to stir that up for yourself, And you learn to go into those spaces, still holding on to that pride, And so, yeah, it does, in my opinion, definitely prepare you.
Well, moving on to them.
Mhm.
Um, Them was a very intense show between, I guess, the hard racism from the town and the little supernatural thing that was going on behind the scenes. It was very good. Um, I also felt very uneasy while watching it just because of how much was going on. And so I was just wondering, how did you prepare for such an intense role?
Mm. You know, well, one constant when I'm preparing for any role is music. I
Mm,
always try to listen to music during the experience, music that maybe my character would listen to if it's like with them. Obviously, it was in the 50s, so like I was trying to listen to the music that maybe Lucky would listen to on her day out, or she would hear when she was out, but also music that would just that spoke about whatever she was feeling in each moment, in her journey on that show. And that for me is really, really helpful because again, music is my first love. And I feel like
mhm,
music transports you in a way that not many other things can. Film is another thing. Film and TV, I think, is another thing that can transport you. But music definitely does the job. And so for me, music was definitely um, uh, a factor. I made a playlist for Lucky. Um, but I think that a way that I prepared for her that in doing season 2, that I didn't do this time around because I was just like, oh, that was a bit much, is I isolated myself, because
mhm,
I felt like this character, though she is surrounded by her family, she's also very alone in her experience.
yeah.
Um, for me, it was my first lead role. It was a role of a lifetime. And I was like, you know what? I want to throw myself into what this character is really, really feeling. And what I got from this character is just loneliness, feeling isolated, wanting to connect, wanting to be open, wanting to, you know, um, be a part, but just feeling very isolated and alone. And so for me, I kind of put myself in that experience. Like I didn't talk to family as much. I didn't talk to friends as much. Like I pretty much disappeared. And I was especially hard because during the filming experience was the pandemic. So we had 5 days left of filming and the pandemic hit and we had to go on hiatus for, gosh, I think it was like 6 months before we can finish. And so like, it was like I was going through my own experience of being like quarantined, if you will. And then the world, did it as well. And it was just like to layer on top of that what was going on in the world, it was a really, really hard experience. Um, but it was a necessary one because that character deserved everything I had. The story that I was telling, the people that I would touch and represent, they deserved everything. And so I don't take that back. Now that I'm more comfortable in the space of being leading lady and I'm more comfortable in the space of like tackling roles like that, I probably don't need to do that to myself in order to access those emotions and access that feeling. But at that time, I feel like I absolutely did. So yeah, that's how I prepared.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was a very intense story. And like thank you for sharing that with us. COVID was definitely a hard time, for all of us, but it seems like it was especially tough for you with preparing that role. But you certainly brought like an amazing performance
Yeah.
to that show. So thank you so much for that work.
Mhm.
And you also brought an amazing performance to Riches, which is a show that I absolutely loved. And
Absolutely.
I can see your face making me laugh. I can see it was like, bless, thank you.
yeah, I watched it like with my Nigerian family, and you know, Riches is a show that centers a wealthy Nigerian family with all of the scandal and mess that accompanies that intersection of identities. And I believe it's the first portrayal of a nuanced Nigerian family that I've ever seen on, you know, like a major network like Amazon Studios. So what did it mean to you to be able to bring that to the screen and show everyone the, you know, internal dynamics of a Nigerian family?
Yeah, oh my gosh, like it was crazy because, you know, the Nina's story is very similar to my own. Um, like being born in London, moving to America, moving back to London, kind of trying to find your place in the world, like where you belong, with whom you belong. Like it's kind of like that thing I was saying about being Black. It's like finding your version of being Nigerian. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like I'm not Nigerian in the same way my mom is Nigerian, but I'm definitely Nigerian. Do you get what I'm saying? So like having that kind of portrayed on screen was just so so refreshing. Like when I read that script, I was like, this is something that I would watch, and I'm very picky, but that I would watch over and over and over and over. You know, not only is it juicy, and you get, but also like it just, I love doing work that makes people feel seen. You know what I mean, and that makes people feel like, oh my God, that is me, or that's my cousin, or that is, you know, it's someone I know. I love authentic representation. And so yeah, Abby, the creator, she and the director of episode 4, like she's obviously being a Nigerian woman, like she gets it, you know, and she just put this just like she put her authentic experiences into the story, into my character, and I could just tell it was created with love. So like for me, it just felt amazing. It was the first time that I was ever, that in my career, that I was able to use like my natural accent, like the way that I actually speak, which is kind of like American, but with a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Like it tells a story of where I've come from, you know. It was the first time I've ever been able to like be authentic in that way on screen and not had to be either this way or that way, you know? And so just showing that we are not one thing was just amazing for me. And seeing us, it's the first project that I've seen come out of the UK where we're fabulous and rich and like messy and classy and not, and all these things. Like there's so many, even the diversity within the wealthy people on that on the show, like some that had generational wealth, some that had their own, like they were self-made, some that were striving for wealth, you know, just so much diversity and inclusion. And that just made me so happy. It made me so excited to be a part. And yeah, and I think, to be honest with you, after them, I was excited to represent in a new way. You know, like my career has shown, and I plan to continue to show, that I can do A to Z. Don't ever put me in a box. I will run from that box, you know?
Yeah.
And so after them, I was like, okay, cool, did that, bet on to another thing. I want to do something completely different, you know? And Riches was like that role. So I'm just, yeah, I'm excited you guys ate it all.
Yeah, I think it's so like important to be able to have variety
Yes.
in just who you are and what you do. And that exceeds your acting and in your career as well, because you have a background in writing, producing, and directing from your time in college, where you won a prestigious award for the short film that you wrote, directed, and starred in. Uh, Have you continued with writing and directing, and could you see yourself moving more towards that in the future?
Yeah, so right now, obviously can't give too many details, but I have developed a project with a major production company, and we are making it very soon. um and to be honest with you, it's a vision I think I always have for my career. I didn't like being in front of the camera, being a performing artist, like I said before, is obviously like the nucleus of what I do. Like it is, the heart of what I do. But I always saw myself being able to tell stories as well, and being able to you know, to tell stories. And to be fair, like, no shade, but I feel like we've come a long way when it comes to portraying us. But I feel like we have a lot further to go. You know what I mean? There's still a lot of people who don't look like us telling our stories. And they often, and not including us in the storytelling, story building process. And as a result, they get it wrong a lot. You know what I mean? And so for me, it was like, you know what? Why am I going to sit there and wait for my dream role? Why don't I create my dream role? You know what I'm saying? Why don't I tell the stories that that I want to tell? And I'm doing it. I see so many other actors doing it, and it makes me so happy. Like, there's an influx of actors, like literally you'll see them with production company, this person's producing, this person got a first look deal, this person. And it's so amazing because it says that more of us are not just staying in the space of just being talent. Now, if that's what you want to do, perfectly fine. But I don't know that we can afford it, because I feel like if we leave our stories in the hands of people who don't, bless their hearts, but don't necessarily get it, then we run the risk of it not being told right. And, those of us who have that, because I don't think it takes a certain thing to take the lead in that way, and to produce and to direct and to create stories. And if it's not in someone, that's perfectly fine. But if it is in you, please, for your sake, for everyone else's sake, like, tell the stories you want to tell, so yeah, I'm proud to say that I'm actually in that process now. It's kind of weird to call myself an executive producer, to be honest, but I'm gonna say it, executive producer.
Producer.
Put that hat on, I'm gonna say it. But like, it's important that we take up space. It's important that we don't just exist and kind of float around like a plastic bag in any space, especially the space where you have a platform and you're portraying. And not to put pressure on us, but I mean, it is what it is. We've been kept out of the space for so long. And I feel like when we get an opportunity to be in the space, represent truthfully, you know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, like, I am proud to take up space. It's uncomfortable at first, but it's getting much easier as time goes on.
Just like building off of that, so entertainment is generally an industry that's dominated by white power structures, and representation is a decision that has to be like consciously made. And right now we are in a time where we are seeing more of that intentional like diverse storytelling, but that's not really where we were like 10 or 15 years ago. And we've seen that change from the outside, just looking at all of the new shows and TV shows that center Black people and actually are made for and by us. But like, what was that change? Like, what did that change look like from the inside, like just over time?
Right. So I've been acting professionally for, is it 17 years yet? 17, I think. Yeah. And I have seen so many changes in the years that I've been doing this, like, but I still see certain things that I'm like, ooh, that's still the same,
Yeah.
Like, I feel like with I feel like with Black women, like being portrayed in especially feminine strength, like being portrayed as being either masculine or matronly. There's so many aspects to feminine strength that's outside of that, that's beyond that. You know what I mean? That is, those are two ways that you can portray that, but there's so many other ways as well. Do you get what I'm saying? And it's like, you know, I just feel like we've come a long way, including people, including, you know, women, people of color, people who are queer, people who, you know what I mean? But I feel like what still needs to change, like I said before, is like, the authentic representation, making sure you're not just trying to check off a box, because I don't buy anyone else. When I read a script, I could actually tell. I literally turned down a script the other day that I was like, I can tell that there hasn't been any care. There hasn't been any much thought in this character. It seems like she was just plopped in there, you know, just to say that you have this character. The character's name was from a completely different culture. And I was like, all ethnicities. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, so for me, I see that inauthentic inclusion. And yeah, I guess it is a step in the right direction, because there was a time where we just weren't included, or we were just included very, you know, in a limited way, but we have a long way to go. And I think the key now is, like I said, like taking up space. You know, I think Issa Rae said, networking laterally, networking with each other. That's one thing I loved about Howard. And that's one of the reasons why as an actor, I got my degree in film production. And instead of theater arts, no, don't get me wrong, there were a lot of people to get to know in that space, and they're doing really well. But I wanted to be in class with the future producers, writers, directors, heads of studios. You know what I mean? Because I knew they were going to get there. And for me, same, like I'm doing my thing. So from it, I saw it at play at Howard, where literally someone would be making a short film. And instead of going all the way over there, they would first cast right in the classroom. They would look to each other. You want to be in mine? You want to be in mine? And some of the actors that I cast in the very film that I won the award for, are doing amazing things now. You know what I mean? And so one of them being Ashley Blaine Featherson, the other being Mike Shaw. They were in my short film. You know what I'm saying? Or my student film rather, which was a short film. But like just taking up space and being crafty, you know, and like really coming together. There's so many avenues to doing this thing now that there wasn't before. YouTube, to this, to that, you know, that to being seen that wasn't before. So like, I think taking advantage of that and just taking up space, not waiting for other people to tell your story. Now, if they do it right sometimes, but more often than not, they miss the mark in a lot of ways, and that's where it's up to us, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's so important to like try and put yourself in these spaces so that other people can get the representation that they need.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I see it in the industry, I see it changing, but there's so much further to go. Like even it trickles down to, like, for example, like hair and makeup, like being on a set and like not having anyone there who knows how to do black hair, black makeup, no barber on set for the men. Do you get what I'm saying? Like for me, I'm just like, oh, not even just for the men, for the people with hair that needs to be shaped up. You know, it's like, okay, if you've included these people in this space, but have you prepared for them? Have you welcomed them? Or did you not expect them to be in this space? You know, that's the thing I think still needs to change. And I think it's up to us to really let our voices be heard and it might be cliche, but kind of be the change that we want to see, in a sense, you know?
So important.
Yeah.
And so having grown up in both America and the UK while maintaining a Nigerian identity, How did you find your place and define your Blackness within the three distinct communities? Yeah,
Ooh,
you can.
long time. I just found it like last week. No. Oh, honestly, it took a long time, and I think I'm still finding my place. But I think that what the difference is that I, one, I think being back in London, I'm around more people who've known me from like day one, you know, and those people get it. Do you get what I'm saying? And being around those people, like, it just makes me feel very seen and understood. And what I love about those people is they get it, they know me from day one, but they still give me room to evolve and to grow and to be who I am now, who I'm gonna be in a year, who I'm gonna be 2 years, never shame me, never like try to bring me down to size, never try to, shade me or like make me feel like, oh, you've changed or whatever. And it just gives me the freedom and the freedom to just be my authentic self. Yeah, like I feel that they have been I've been blessed to have them in my life and to be in close proximity with them, at this time in my life where I feel like my career is so rapidly changing and growing and all this stuff. And it's important that I hold on to who I actually am. But also I think that like, I don't know when it happened, but I just decided to no longer let people define me. Because I think for a lot of my life, I felt this thing of like, you can't sit with us.
Mm.
Or you're not necessarily Nigerian enough for the Nigerians, because you're not fluent in Yoruba. Or you're maybe, because you moved to America, you're maybe not London enough for like the people from ends. Or like if you're maybe not American enough for the Americans. So go, for me, what's freed me and what actually kind of put purpose in that struggle for me is just being like, you know what, actually, what am I doing? Why am I actually waiting for them to define me? Why am I actually waiting for them to tell me what my history is and where I came from? Like, I know who I am. I know what passports I hold. I know like where I've been. I know where my parents are from. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm learning Yoruba, so it's fine. Like, for me, it's just really being unapologetic about my version of all those things, what my version of being Black is, my version of being Nigerian, my version of being from London, my version of being from the Bay, my version of being like a HBCU grad, like all these peak experiences of Blackness, and being able to turn it around and be like, actually, I've been blessed to experience and continue to experience some beautiful sides of the Black experience. A lot of people don't ever get to say they've got to do that. I've been able to go to like Howard. I've been able to go and I'm Nigerian, so you know how that's like. I've been able to like, live in an area that like there's only a few Black people and we kind of figure out how to like navigate that space. I've been able to like, after I graduated Howard, I lived in Atlanta. I lived in New York. I moved back to DC for a second. So it's like, I've had I've been able to experience, I've been blessed to experience the Black experience from different angles. And not a lot of people can say that. And so as someone may try to shame me for that and be like, oh, where do you actually fit? I'm like, actually, I fit in all these places. I fit in all these places because I realize that even though we're so different and we should respect those differences and honor those differences, we also have the same blood, in a sense, running through our veins, quite literally, actually, and that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. And I think if more people realize like how that part of it would be a thing where it would just be like this, I don't know, but it would just be beautiful, And so I think that's what changed it for me, is realizing actually what people are trying to shame me about is actually such a blessing. And I'm not going to let anyone make me feel like it's not. And I'm going to define myself for myself in any space. No one gets to talk. Because first of all, a lot of these portrayals of Blackness on screen that are telling you this is the way to be Black, a lot of them were not by Black people. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's only till recently where this renaissance has happened, where you have like Atlanta, you know, and you have like Insecure, and you have all these different like portrayals of us, and you're like, oh my God, I feel seen. Before that, a lot of the people who have the say were not Black. So they were telling us, this is the way you lot are. When it's like, wait a minute, actually, I don't really feel that way. That's why people see like Issa Rae, for example, and they're like, oh my God, finally, because I'm awkward as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, finally, an awkward, like literally, you know? And so, yeah, I'm learning in every way to define myself for myself in every aspect. And it has been really freeing. It's scary as hell because it's easier to just go with the crowd. But like, yeah, it is actually really, really lit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is really inspiring to
Very
hear. Yeah. I'm still, you know, in the process of getting there, but
Listen, you just take your time. Take your time.
true.
Take your time.
thank you. So now we're going to take a look at some of the audience Q&As. So we have a couple questions. Do you have a favorite memory from the set of Them or Riches that you can share with us?
Okay, so them. What a favorite memory from them. Oh my God. Because, you know, I had a really good time with like the family. I had a really good time with like, it's crazy. It was such a hard story to tell. But because it was so hard, we kind of like banded together and made this like community. You know what I'm saying? Gosh, that was so long ago. I'm trying to think of like a crazy story or an amazing story. I think, to be honest with you, you know what? It was actually off set. It was when like me, Ashley, Melody, and Shahadi and their parents, Melody and Shahadi's parents, would like have like family days. So we'll go to the cinema, we'll go to like, we'll do things together, you know? And for me, those moments just made me, first of all, it took me out of the world of all of that. First of all, the girls actually, they took me out of that world a lot because they're kids. They're so like, even though they're really smart and they knew everything was going on and like they still had to be protected and covered, but they're still kids. So they would be like TikToking and doing all this stuff like that while we're doing like these heavy scenes. And it will remind you that there's life outside of this experience, you know? But even more so when we would go to the cinema, we'll go to this. And actually, I think, yeah, we all went to go see Harriet when it came out. And that was a beautiful experience, you know, to take them to go see Harriet, to like really just enjoy that experience, enjoy my other project, but also like to show them, you know, like an inspirational story. That was really, really great. So I have a lot of like stories like that. On Riches, man, like anytime the whole gang, like the Richards family, plus Hermione, plus CJ, plus Brendan, anytime we were all together, like those scenes, for example, I don't want to ruin it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but I kind of won't. But when we're doing the voting, you know, like that looks super serious, but off camera, it was like, it was such a vibe. Like, it was just like, I think it was, you know, that experience, it had its challenges. I can honestly say like, it was the most fun I've ever had on a job, you know? So yeah, like anytime we were all together, it was just so much fun. So yeah.
And for our second audience Q&A, Do you approach preparing for a film role versus television role differently at all?
That's a very good question. There's not really much of a difference. However, I think, because I would say that them thus far is the only TV show that I've done that I've returned to. But even with them, the differences, without again too much, there's a lot of differences. So like my process for each season has been completely different. But I would say if I were on a show that I was on it for multiple seasons, it would be very different than film, because you're living in the space for much longer, you know. With film, you kind of get in and get out. You know what I mean? And it's even, time is even shorter when you're not the lead. You get what I'm saying? But when it comes to TV, it's like you're in the space and you don't know how long you're going to be in the space. So you actually have to give that character room. Yeah, you know the stories thus far, but you actually have to give that character room to grow and evolve and change and this and that. She starts out, like, how many shows have you seen? Season 1, episode 1, they start at one place. Season 5 episode, the finale, they're in a whole different place. That's not the case with film. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so you have to give that room. And also, to be honest with you, on TV shows, I've seen and experienced things change more rapidly than they do film. Like film, the script is written, they might make tweaks to it, depending, you know, life happens. Maybe they had to change the heart on things, but the script is the script. Do you get me? So, but with TV, it's like you could literally come to work that day and you're getting pages of different dialogue, different this, different that, you know. This person, you know, has made a different decision with their character, which affects your character, and things change a lot in TV. So you have to be more flexible, I think, with TV than you do with film or with a limited series. So.
Our third audience question is, working in television yourself, are there any TV shows you've been loving lately yourself?
Oh my God, Swarm. I was gonna say, what about Swarm? I'm not gonna lie. So I know it's gonna sound ironic, but I'm actually a chicken when it comes to like heavy blood, gory, all this stuff. I can act in it till I'm blue in the face. But when it comes to watching it, I have to have people with me. I have to so I watch it in the day. I'm such a chicken. Like, I don't know what is. But that, oh my God, I'm still processing it because I literally just finished with my cousin. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. And I'm still processing it because, you know, Donald, you know, like his mind actually is a something else. And you might think you're watching one thing and you're watching something else, and you have to pick up on every single detail. And I love projects like that. He's so smart. And so like Swarm, I would say, and oh, Dominique, listen, she acted like, yeah, I'm still on a high. I'm not sure if you guys saw it. I don't want to like ruin it, but if you haven't seen it, please. It's so good. It's so good. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I love watching projects that make you research afterwards. You ever watch those shows or those films where you're like, wait a minute, is that really, what does that mean? That's Swarm for me. That was Swarm. So Swarm.
Yeah, I just started Swarm, so I'm getting into that hype.
Wait, how far are you in it? You did episode 1 or 2, or how far are you in Swarm?
I'm still on episode 1. I think I started it.
Working your way slowly. I get it.
Yeah, I'm going slowly, but when I get more, like I'm gonna binge it soon. I'm gonna binge it soon.
Yeah. I hear you.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that was our last Q&A question from the audience.
So as we begin to wrap up, we'd love to hear any advice you have for current students hoping to embark on a similar career path with acting, writing, and directing.
Yes. I would say one, just key points that I actually mentioned. Network laterally. Like, I know that, I don't know if Brown is similar to Howard in the sense that it can be quite cliquey, but please, if it is like that on that campus, open your minds, look over to the person that you may not talk to, you know what I'm saying, that you may not be like in your circle of friends. Just look over, have a conversation, connect with people genuinely, you know, because those are the people that people work with and remember, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've recommended people for roles that like, I know genuinely, you know, people work with people they like. And so like, yes, it is wonderful and amazing and good to like network, gosh, what's the word for upward? Upward. But like upward, but like, don't make sure you see the value in the person sitting next to you. Like, you too, literally, you know, figure out what the person wants to do, figure out what you want to do, how you lot can do it together. It is so important. Like, the things that have been made, I mean, I mentioned fraternities and sororities, they banded together and they made an organization that's still going on to this day, that outlived them. You know what I'm saying? Little college students. Do you get what I'm saying? That is what you lot can do. Like, network laterally. Don't, you know, turn your nose up at someone because they're not in your clique. And I know sometimes being at uni, being at college, like, it's kind of like a survival of the fittest. It's almost like going to school for the first time all over again, where you like get in there, you get your crew, and you lot just survive for the whole 4 years. You just survive. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, cool. This is my clique. We just do what we do. We try to stay around each other, and I'm safe in this group. And there's no problem in having like a nuclear kind of family away from your family. But like, make sure that you're also reaching out to just like genuinely connect. If someone's like not, you know, someone's a jerk, that's fine, allow it. But like, genuinely connecting with people outside of the people that you would normally see and normally connect with, because you just never know. And it's oftentimes the quiet ones that end up doing the things. There are people at Howard who didn't even know I was an actress. Didn't even know. Do you get what I'm saying? Because they never asked me. We never had that conversation. We never had that connection, you know? And there are people vice versa that I didn't even know. Like, I'm seeing this one guy that's this big time music producer. And like, and I saw him all the time on Howard's campus, and I didn't even know he was into music. Do you get what I'm saying? And I think sometimes people just get so caught up in the people around them because it's their safe space, you know? But I would just say, please, like, open up, connect with each other, figure out how you can do things right now as you stand. You can literally write something together, put it up, and it might be the next big thing. You never know, you know? So beyond the whole, the cliche, like, sky's not even the limit, which is very true. You know, we didn't think that there was going to be social media when I was younger. We didn't think that there was going to be this or that. We didn't think, you know, they wouldn't think there was going to be a platform where you can literally create a whole TV show and put it up yourself. And now it has come. I'm sure Issa Rae didn't think when we were younger, like, that was going to be the way she was going to make it and be Issa Rae that she is now. Do you get what I'm saying? But like, you lot have that, and it might be so normal to you. But I think because my generation, like, we know a world with it, we know a world without it. So to us, it's mad. It's like, do you mean to tell me someone could put a whole show, a whole film up on YouTube and it could blow up? And next minute they have deal with Amazon, with this person, with Sony. Yeah, that's normal for you lot. It's not normal for us. So take advantage of opportunities. I'm telling you, take advantage of be genuine with it. Like, people are people, but like, take advantage of the people sitting next to you, and they have dreams and they have goals and they have this and they have that. And a lot of you lot are gonna make it to those goals and surpass those goals and dreams, So just be open. That's what I was saying. Treat people with kindness, because you just never know. Even if they don't make it anywhere, treat them with kindness anyway. But like, especially if they do, you do not want to be that person that like pisses off the next like Kenya Barris, like you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be that person, so that's what I would say. Just like really embrace each other's dreams and figure out how you can pour into each other and like create together, like, so yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's some great advice. And for our last question, what would be your dream role, whether imaginary or currently happening? Like, what is something you just really want to be a part of or play?
I'm gonna say it, and I'm gonna say it very vaguely, because I like to be about it less than but I want to play a superhero. Which one? I'll let you lot figure that out. But I want to play a superhero. I'm gonna play a superhero, actually.
Yes. Superhero. You got this.
So we wanted to thank you so much, Deborah, for speaking with us today. It has been such an honor and pleasure to virtually welcome you to Brown. And thank you to everyone in the audience for tuning in and asking such great questions. Reminder, there will be more festival events through the end of the day, including an in-person discussion with music video director Ryosuke Tanzawa at 12 p.m. and in-person discussion with Lana Wilson, the director of After Tiller and Miss Americana at 2 p.m., an advanced screening of Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret at 4 p.m., as well as an advanced screening of Evil Dead Rise this evening at 7 p.m. Be sure to follow our Instagram at IFF Film Festival, as well as our website to find the information for all of these events.
And thank you again.
Create together, please let me know. Sorry, I didn't cut in. Whatever you guys create together, please let me know what it is, because I want to know. I want updates.
You got them. Thank you again, Deborah. And to everyone in attendance, we hope you all have a wonderful day.